How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm great, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready
You're ready for
to
the
become
squid?
the student of the octopus.
Well,
Become one with Cthulhu.
yeah, Cthulhu works, but octo means 8, so that's eight legs. We don't have that.
Vel'Koz has how many legs?
3.
Okay. well, pardon.
It's a cephalopod of some kind for sure.
Okay. You got the science down as well. Holy, you
Yeah.
got everything covered.
Don't worry about it.
So what is the curriculum?
Oh, it's I was first thinking 4-year curriculum where we just divide into 8 semesters and we go from math and physics, you know.
And then maybe some summer schooling depending on the results.
Yeah,
No vacation.
what did you have in mind? What is your goal with this experience?
I guess I want to get the deep knowledge, you know, like the dark secrets. Because there are some things that you learn only with time, and you've put a lot of time into this champion. The basics probably I could figure out, you know, the depth of most matchups, the nitty gritty that I can transfer on to the pro player I'm gonna coach in the future.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Okay.
I was just watching EU Master with they Yarn.
Oh yeah, man played it, yeah.
Yeah, he got it on AP carry.
What do you think about bot lane, Vel'Koz?
It's good. It was just a bad choice to pick him in this game. That shit come for it.
I don't remember what that game was.
Did you watch when GL Knight played it versus Azzapp?
No, I've been not watching too much EU Masters because I'm preparing for the World Championship.
Yeah,
like I'm
makes
catching up on all the disco regions.
Yeah,
all over
getting
the world.
You gotta analyze everything.
Yes.
So yeah, I know you don't believe Vel'Koz is that good in competitive, right?
No. I think there is room for it for sure. I think there's been scenarios where, like, you just looking at the kit itself, it is easy to see potential, and I think that's what makes me the most intrigued. And I don't think it has any innate weakness. It has a weakness against a lot of champions that are mostly played in solo queue. But I think it can do well against a lot of things that are being played in competitive.
Exactly, that was my point all along. Because Vel'Koz in solo queue is not like a high impact character. You can't do too much.
Zed gets locked in.
No, Zed is actually least of your worries. Zed is fine.
Okay.
Zed is fine. There's like way worse matchups. The issue is you don't have too much impact in solo queue. But competitive kind of fixes a lot of the downsides of solo queue. Because competitive is a lot slower, more methodical. You can choose comps where to pick it, and if you have it as a niche pick, I think in like about 15 to 20% games it can be amazing.
Yeah. I think like how much do you like? There's different schools of champions, right?
Yep.
Do you think skills from different champions transfers well onto Vel'Koz? Like for example, if I had to learn Zoe from scratch, it's kind of
she's
so
weird.
different from everything else, right? So it nothing really transfers.
Yep.
Does Vel'Koz have something that transfers? Like, for example, you played Vel'Koz a shit ton.
Yep.
Are you good at other stuff? What are you good at naturally?
You know how I actually started playing it after Xerath.
Okay.
So Lux is like a beginner. Lux is like the baseline, the brain dead style.
Okay.
Then you go into Xerath. It's a bit more complex. Xerath Ziggs kinda parallel, and then Vel'Koz is like the highest level of this champ. Is the most complex.
Okay.
So if you understand Vel'Koz and play it well, you can naturally just devolve back to Xerath Ziggs and Lux and Syndra as well.
Okay.
They do play similarly.
Cool. Okay, Azzapp.
So what is your experience with Vel'Koz? Did you play it?
I played. I had like a little stint, I think maybe last year, where I just played 20 games straight just to check.
Okay.
Because it was used as a pick into Rise, and I just wanted to figure out if it's a matchup that is like completely one-sided or if it's something that is just based off experience. But our conclusion was back then that Suzuki was good enough Rise to beat any Vel'Koz.
It's good into Rise, but the issue is when Rise gets out of lane. Side lane Vel'Koz can't deal with it. So in competitive, they will kind of know how to avoid early and then just get him out.
You think Vel'Koz bot is better than mid or the other way around?
Vel'Koz bot is easier to play, that's for sure.
What is that? Because bot lane is the worst? So...
less things to track, and your role is much more simple.
Yeah, for sure.
Mid lane has to absorb so much data like immediately, because you have to understand everything about the game to make yourself useful.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So give me these wild mechanics, man. What are the wild mechanics? The hidden arts.
The hidden arts, the Q. It's all about the Q.
It's all about the Q?
Yeah.
Like what are the animation cancellations we could do? And
there's in-depth animation cancels.
Okay, show me. Do people still do the 3 points W? Is that still...
yeah, that's the standard.
The business? Okay. And you always, you one-shot range minions?
Yeah.
At certain...
with 2 Ws at level 2, you can actually do that.
Level 2 already?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the point of 3?
Well, it's just more wave control. But that's what I've been recently testing that. And, I mean... I propose to people they can go either 2 or 4, 2 to 4 points in W, depending on what they want.
Okay.
So you can get to like 2 to 4. If you're playing low velo or you really feel aggressive, you can go 2 and then max Q, because Q is kill potential, W wave control, so you can just pick and choose what you want with it.
Alright.
Where
you from?
Bosnia and Herzegovina. We don't have great connection here.
Okay.
Okay, so you know the basics about it. Q, E, R, they all have animation, right?
Yeah.
And W doesn't, so W flash doesn't work. That's the only one that with flash doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the fact that it doesn't have an animation also makes it a good buffer. So you want to use it for the WQ as a prefix. They kind of go at the same time.
Let me just open your stream.
Yeah.
Because it's like the sound is so delayed.
Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'll stop sharing here. It's about W makes it faster. If you shoot W before something, it makes it much faster.
Okay.
Because like if you do QW, this is the animation you get. It's really slow. WQ hides it. WQ hides the Q, and it's much faster.
Okay.
But there's a trade-off because it's riskier, and if you miss, you kind of miss both, and you know, obviously. That's why we don't use them too much.
Okay.
There's an interesting thing with well, let me. How do I do this? Right. I'm gonna do like a flash distance and then E to measure like this. Okay, check this out. This is quite interesting. If you do E flash,
okay,
you cannot do it past the point because you have to walk. Like if you do it outside your range, you're gonna walk and then use it. So you can't E flash out of a distance that would be like out of your E flash.
Oh.
So you can E flash here.
Oh, okay. I see,
but you can't E flash behind the distance that would be of a.
Okay.
That makes E flash super risky. So if you want to E flash, you have to know the distance by heart.
I see. Okay.
That's kind of that's one of the secrets.
Okay. Yeah, I can compare. I know other champions work like this as well.
Yeah. Well, that's just how it's coded, I guess. And I don't know why the animation because they both have cast time. The animation of Q slightly covers the animation of E. But
is this the OP? Is this skin that you're using? Is it OP or is it just
it's slightly
aesthetic choice?
Yeah. It's slightly paid in.
Okay. Because E is so masked here.
Yeah.
Like when you Q. Holy. Okay.
So that's also just one of them. Like Q is slightly covers E for some reason, but again, I kind of like that it's designed this way because it's again the riskier choice. It gives you more options. Cause shooting QE immediately is kind of like a rookie move. You don't want to drop everything.
Okay.
So basically, what you want to learn, if you're teaching someone, is how to combo and manipulate with the Q, I guess, properly. Because Q is the biggest ability, and you need to know how to use it properly in lane.
Yeah.
There's so many combos you can do with Q. Like you can use it to not even land the Q. You can use it to make people move in the opposite direction.
Okay, so kind of like Jace EQ, like if someone, because this is like when people play Jace mid, you push people around by like because the angle of EQ is always like the same way as you're explaining the Q.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can use angles like that. You can also use like the... There's a lot of mind games, which I'm pretty sad we don't see in competitive a lot. But to be fair, they are a little bit riskier. And you don't generally fish for a kill in lane solo. Most people just pick Vel'Koz to farm. But you can do that. You can surprise people. There are decent mind games. Because when you play against someone, you kind of profile how they dodge. It's kind of like... you know about counting cards in blackjack?
Yeah.
There's like a simple counting mechanic for like high and low. You can use the same thing for Vel'Koz. You can shoot Q wide or short.
Okay.
And depending if they hit or miss, you kind of count in your head. And then you profile opponents whether you should shoot it shorter or wider.
Okay.
So you can if you understand how they're gonna dodge, you can also there's also priming. You can shoot on purpose like 3 wide Qs in a row like this. Like you shoot super wide and it makes them juke forward towards you.
Okay.
Because the Q will go like super ahead of them. And then after like 3 of them, they kind of get used to that. Then you go to a wave and then like you pre-cast it predictably, and then you land a full combo.
Okay.
It's kind of like
Is it possible to do it reactionary, the Q?
Yeah.
Or is it like a certain boot,
the lower your
point?
ping is, for sure you can, but the longer the distance away, the faster you are, then less so.
Are there certain like boots breakpoints where you like change the way you approach the way you throw your Q? Like if he has rank 1 boots, 2 boots, 3 boots.
Well, you can do it. You can do it basically versus 2 boots, unless they have like super hyper speed. Swifties kind of disable you from catching up. Let's say if you hit a long range, max range Q, Swifties kind of disable you from catching up. But max range Q slows for a long time. 2.6 seconds is quite a lot, so you can catch up.
Okay. It's funny that you said you're like downloading the opponent, because that's the whole purpose of this champ.
Yeah, I mean, basically. Hey, dude, it's brilliant. I love this champ.
Okay.
There's so much stuff you can do. You know about the Q. A lot of people don't know a few things about the Q. Initial distance is 1050.
Yeah.
The second one is actually 1100, which is slightly bigger.
Okay.
And the second one is slightly faster. That means if you calculate the angle, the max range is actually at 46.33.
Hypotenuse?
Yeah, hypotenuse is 46.33 degree angle. If you shoot it at that angle, that's the highest distance. Is the it's 1520 distance, longest range.
Holy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the second one is slightly longer, so that makes it you can make some really good plays with that max range.
Are there like some like locations where you can like cheese, like where they're hidden completely?
There's a lot. Like okay, there's invisible Qs.
Yeah.
So invisible Qs work like this. Let's say I'm red side and this third is gone here. So I'm shoving in and they're clearing the wave here. You can do like invisible Q like this, and then come in for a combo. Provided they don't have vision in this brush.
Okay.
If they don't have vision
where
in
the fog of war is, huh?
Yeah. You can do this invisible one. You can combine it with like a predictive QR, because naturally you can do that, and as soon as they see your ult, they're gonna move backwards, like out of panic, because they don't see your Q yet, and they're gonna pick up the Q on the way out. They literally pick up the Q on the way out to get true damage. The same works here. It's a bit harder because it's more likely to have vision. Same works on this one. You can invisible. There's so many invisible ones you can do, like on basically any terrain.
Okay. So it's pretty much just where you have fog of war.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's quite useful because second Q is, as we said, faster, so you can kind of cheese with that. It's a lot harder to dodge. If you nail it, like they have no respect. Like they can't respect it at all. They have to flash.
Okay.
Because it's guaranteed hit, and then Q guarantees your EW, and they did die.
You mentioned QE is the faster way, but are there moments where you like play on Q and then you slow and then you E?
I mean, that's what you do all the time. That's what you do all the time. QE is just... this is the fastest combo ever. WQER, because W prefixes Q, Q prefixes E, then you can ult after.
Okay.
So that's like the fastest... That's like the fastest combo, because everything covers everything in animation. But it's only useful in like phase check scenarios or hard CC.
Okay, like a fucking dragon is
spitting
everything out.
Because I mean, all of these, like, they're all riskier versions. You generally don't do that much. You just fish with Q and then use combos off of it. Amateur Vel'Koz players will spam E on cooldown, which is kind of stupid, because if you use E all the time, not only are you vulnerable, so they play aggressive, you can't combo properly. You only use E if need be, or like maybe predicting a cannon or some stuff like that.
So most of the time, like the opinion of like Vel'Koz in lane, at least in like for example the Rise matchup, the opinion has for pro players is like if you die or get hit by Vel'Koz, it means that you boosted. You know, how much truth is it to this?
Well, you shouldn't get hit by it because you're gonna get punished for it quite a lot.
Yeah.
But there is a way like to make people go into it quite often.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's not like, oh, this only works versus bronze players, because it is perfectly scalable. Because the higher you go, the bigger the mind game. Like I can actually hit more consistently versus like grandmaster players than let's say silvers.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you just change your pattern when you play in silver. Like you change your pattern, you play more obviously, but the higher you go, there's a higher like level of deception. And they don't track your minor clues you give them like in low elo. So only like a challenger to grandmaster player will track the clues that you give them, but you're feeding them that on purpose, that intel, and then you kind of abuse it.
Oh, cool. Man, so the C team should fucking hire you to download the enemy player. He's moving like this. Just throw your spells like this.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what also a trick of a good Vel'Koz player is to not shoot a single pattern, because people you become predictable. Don't shoot every time you have Q of cooldown, because then people like unconsciously they just know like to dodge every 6 seconds or so. Second thing is don't shoot always on the same angle, always on the same like side, left or right. You usually shoot or left or right. You have to, a good Vel'Koz player will shift that, because good opponents will shift their dodging pattern. Like if they get hit 3 times, they're gonna change their dodging pattern. So like if you hit 3 times a challenger player, like you know he's gonna change the pattern, so you can predict it on the 4th one, and then like you hit him on the 4th one again, and then it's like, how is he reading me? It happens quite often. So the trick is to shift patterns, so you're not very predictable against the same players.
Okay. When you lane, do you shift how wide you shoot your Q?
Oh, for sure.
Or is it always tight?
Yeah, that's
you always shift.
Yeah, you're gonna shift your Q wideness all the time. Also depending on the wave. Like if a wave is like this, you shoot it to kind of just scratch the wave on the side, because they're gonna hide behind the wave usually.
Yeah.
If you go closer, there's a rule of diagonals. Like if I go left, he's gonna go right usually, because he doesn't want line of sight. Obviously, I go right, he goes left. So you can do that. Like I can go right and preemptively shoot Q left, and then you hit him there. You can do the similar thing. You do that to push him into the wave with a Q. This is a Shepherd Q combo where you just herd them in, you know. You shoot Q.
Did you name it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you shoot it kind of like to herd him like a sheep. So it usually goes a bit wider. You shoot a bit wider, that forces him to go towards the wave. And then you like preemptively cast behind the wave, clearing the wave and him at the same time. You play for stacks usually, because the damage doesn't come from abilities but from stacks. Before ulting you want 3 stacks procced on someone, because that's ult is true damage then, you know that, right?
Yeah. How, like, considering that your itemization, do you buy like magic pen? Is it worth it, or do you just?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Okay. How magic pen works on him is 75% efficiency.
Okay.
Because 25% of his damage will roughly be true damage at the end of the game when you check. 25 to 30, and depending on how much enemies MR have and all that. Also, I mean, I guess you can value the execution damage higher than basic poke damage on like 2000 HP when they're full. So you obviously value the execution damage more. In that sense, true damage has even more value than your regular poke damage, because you usually use it on execute.
So is Death Cap second just the best? Like in those scenarios?
Landries. Luden's Landries is like the best thing you can get.
Okay. Does Madness doesn't improve?
Doesn't do true damage.
Right?
Doesn't do for true damage.
Okay.
But it's just such a perfect synergy, because almost every single ability you do slows. E, R, and Q all slow. Luden's also spreads it on 3 other targets. It just... And then third would be the Death Cap.
Are there any scenarios where you go GLP, or is it just a convenience thing?
That's a competitive versus solo queue kind of. There's a different playstyles you can play. I on stream play mostly for fun, like solo queue, greedy, highlight making style, you know.
Yeah.
But if you were to play competitive, you would go inspiration secondary. You would play a bit safer. You would get 3 points W more than max Q. You don't go 2. You could very often go GLP because GLP has more value in competitive than Murillo or than Ludens.
And most of the time, like the reasoning for GLP is just the price of it and the convenience of buying it is just so.
It's a lot easier. It's more accessible to buy. 400 gold is a lot on power spikes in competitive because you can play dragons. Then you can use GLP, like you can kind of use it on command. You know when you can use it, and you know you have that guaranteed damage also set up. The Ludens is 100. It's like you need those 100 stacks, and you don't proc it as much like in solo queue, because Ludens in solo queue you're fishing for Qs all the time. You're poking, and competitive is a bit more like wave management, and then you get less chance to proc Ludens, so it also loses value in the procs.
Okay. Void staff, is it a similar conversation like sorcerer shoes, or?
Yeah, about 75% efficiency. So like let's say if you get void staff on Oriana when they have like 80 MR on 3 characters, when they get like 100 MR on 4 characters, that's when you get it on Vel'Koz, something like that.
Okay.
So you just have to like calculate in that extra like 30% efficiency.
So if you see Mercuries, you just don't give a shit. Like,
yeah, like I mean, basically when they buy Mercs, that's like a don't go Oblivion Orb sign.
Okay.
Because even though Magic Pen has lower value, like if your team is full AD and opponents don't build MR and they most likely won't, you can kind of predict that. Then you can go Oblivion Orb like as a second item. So you have 33 Magic Pen and you do true damage like fully to like 3 out of 5 easily.
I guess it also just comes down to like if you are.
And you're playing for like a mid-game spike to really snowball that mid-game with that true damage. Because it's gonna fall off later on, obviously.
Yeah. I guess also like if you're just primarily poking with Q, I guess spell pen value goes up too if you're not proccing and passive that much.
Yeah. If you're just going for blind poke, then yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But I'd like to see the numbers on the competitive games of Vel'Koz. I guess true damage procs are even more valuable there, right? Because people fight less randomly and they get more like full combos.
Well, it depends. It always depends. Like
true in the game, yeah, I guess.
In some regions and in some levels of play, like it shifts so heavily. For example, in the LPL, or if you look at the like the LEC, the volume of fights that is happening is quite like heavy. It's not mostly around objectives.
Yeah, true.
So that one is a bit tough. Let me just check Vel'Koz games in competitive if there's anything that stands out. I don't remember. The win ratio is nice. It's 70% almost.
Oh, wait, you got access to the database?
No, it's called Game of Legends.gg.
I thought you got some FBI records. Okay.
No, sadly no. It's there's only wild players in the other regions that Crown actually played it. Yeah, Crown played it. Glacial Augment.
Froggen played it. Yeah, Glacial is the competitive kind of version. But again, depends on the comps and what you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
Glacial is team oriented, lowers the total damage output and lowers the skill ceiling. But yeah.
But the sorcery seems so OP. I feel like if you want to win lane, sorcery.
Yeah, sorcery is really good. The issue is you don't have too many winning matchups.
So what are the winning ones, and how like give me the list of how it gets worse.
Everything that moves is bad. So if they have dash is bad. Like if you're dealing with something like Lux, you know, you're gonna have like quite an easy time. You avoid the bind and you beat her. You're just fishing for combos because you're gonna land it eventually. You're gonna play against Veigar, you're gonna smack him, you know, because he has you outrange and you have better kill potential.
Okay.
But as soon as it gets to like super mobile characters, and they're gonna spam early sustain, so even if you poke him, you don't do too much. So that's kind of the issue. Nowadays, like, it's quite popular to play like Corki, Oriana, AZIR, stuff like that, and Vel'Koz is quite alright into that.
Okay. And
like, cause in mid game you totally beat Corki. You're much better at well, early to mid than Corki. Because he needs his spikes, and you just scale off of levels. You don't even need that many items.
Okay. How does Vel'Koz scale off of levels? I need to just pull up the wiki.
His damage numbers are quite high, and true damage on passive scales really well.
Okay.
So that's why support Vel'Koz can be kind of viable.
Okay.
In solo queue you can do that because you don't need too much ability power to deal damage. Like a level 6 Vel'Koz without items is gonna deal like 900 to you in full combo.
The reason I was thinking about death cap is because like the AP scalings are so fucking
AP scalings on Q are insane.
Absolutely.
So late game you're gonna deal like 1k with Q. Plus line
just the
rate.
passive itself too, like 50% on passive.
Yeah, for sure.
On the consume.
Decap is like the third item, ideally.
How much have you experimented with the death cap second? Is it?
It's good if you can buy. The issue is gold. That's the issue with that cap, because it's a hard item to purchase. You have too many power gaps.
For sure. Spellbinder and Spellbinder magic.
Spellbinder is snowbally as fuck. Like if you get ahead early, you can rush Spellbinder. It gives you more maneuvering possibilities, and movement speed on Vel'Koz is so underrated, because all of your abilities are directly tied to you. They originate from you.
Yeah.
And they're all skill shots. So if you can position with that extra 10% movement speed, you can be in much better positions. And that will make your, like, let's say, a really difficult queue with a really good angle and more repositioning power, and gives you also more manipulation, can make a really difficult queue into like a checkmate that they can't dodge.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. All right. So some information to process here.
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
I need to take some of the combos for a spin. I'm just gonna write them down in my little document over here.
Okay.
So you have So the thing I just need to remember is W can buffer Q and Q can buffer E, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, the Q buffering E is not very useful though. WQ can be useful.
Okay, I guess it's useful only WQE if I want to, like, someone's face.
Yeah, exactly. In that sense.
I want to smack him up. I guess what would be difficult, what stands out in my mind, like Kassadin, is Kassadin hard for you? Kassadin hard?
Well, after 11, yeah.
After 11, well, that's
you have to bully him early, like, obviously. After 6, a lot of people think after 6 he insta beats you, but not really, because you still have time. You still have time post 6 to beat him. If he there's like a classic Kassadin mistake. If he jumps forward and he shoots Q too fast, that means he has no interruption. Then you can full combo and then you kill him with ult, because he can't interrupt the ult.
Okay.
That happens quite often.
Then Echo, I guess, maybe is the worst, or
Echo is horrible because he's unkillable.
Okay.
He just shoves and he's unkillable. That's the issue with him. But I mean, in competitive, again, like with a proper comp, he's not a problem, because you don't play for kill, and then as long as you have CC in comp, that's fine. I mean, I don't know if this is helpful for you, because you're fishing for matchups. I've made like a you know those
video piece I can look at. Maybe I'm bothering you with like questions.
Yeah, you know those. No, it's fine. You're not bothering, but you know the difficulty graphs and things. I made one for Vel'Koz mid lane matchups. So.
Oh, okay, that's juicy.
I guess it will vary a bit more if you put it in competitive setting, but this was more for solo queue, because okay, it's a bit more complex. Because what you're looking here is like difficulty, impact, and fun. You don't care about the fun factor. Okay. Impact is how much impact you can exert on that specific solo queue game. Like, let me draw like something here. Let me get like a. So like even if you're fed, you can't impact the game that much, you know? Because let's say you beat Pyke in mid lane, you kill him once, twice. Doesn't really matter. Pyke just goes bot lane, gets double money, you know?
Okay.
Same for like Talon and stuff. Even though Talon is not a hard matchup, you will beat it in 1v1 for sure. But the impact you can exert on that particular solo queue game is a bit less. So.
Okay. Summoners, is is there something that stands out, or is it just the usual business that you would approach to summoners?
Barrier, heal, TP.
Okay. So the usual business.
Yeah. A lot of people often take Ignite for some reason, because, I mean, you're never in range for Ignite. You're not really in range for Ignite mid to late game ever, so it's kind of...
And you would have the same idea for bot. It's the same idea, right?
What?
Same idea for bot. No exhaust shenanigans for you? Do you don't like exhaust?
Exhaust is a more aggressive version of Barrier, I guess.
Okay.
Because you use it mostly in offensive sense.
Oh, that's what needs to happen, I guess.
You want to play a game now?
Is that what's next in line?
Do you have the note? I mean, I obviously have to see where you're at now, what you're doing, so I can give some input. Because you can look at this theory forever, and it doesn't really mean anything unless you can use it.